Ready to harness the power of your communications data? Blast off with Nylas today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coding with Nylas. On this live stream, we talk about APIs. We talk about building with the Nylas APIs. We talk about programming languages, and we talk about other things. So Black can't join me today. He's under allergies right now, but hopefully he gets well soon, and he will join us next week. So in this live stream, what I want us to do is to talk about how to complete your first contribution for Hacktoberfest. So we're going to walk through how do you find issues. So we'll go through the Nylas GitHub repo and take a look at the issues that we have. And then as well, we're going to go through the code. So we'll show you how much code you need to put together, how much code you need to build, and as well how you can go about testing that code before you actually submit a PR. So again, go to hacktoberfest.com to sign up. So you can go to hacktoberfest.com. You can find out all the rules, what you need to do to participate, and as well any guidelines in terms of how to actually engage with open source repos or repositories, and as well maintainers. So let's first take a look at our repo. So we're going to go to GitHub at hacktoberfest.com. So we're going to go to Nylas Hacktoberfest. Nylas Hacktoberfest 2023. So let me share my screen, and then we can take a look at the repo. So here is what the screen looks like, or here's what the repo looks like. Oh, there we go. One sec. Sorry, I'm just moving windows around for a bit, and there we go. So I'm just going to show you our GitHub repo. So let's first go to Nylas-Hacktoberfest 2023. So in here, we have about 73 issues, or over 70 issues in different programming languages that you can take on. And as well, I just want to give a shout out to some developers that have actually gone ahead and taken on some issues. So I think if we sort by recently updated, so we see that a few developers have gone ahead and jumped into our repo. So shout outs to Guggen and Akash. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But they've gone ahead and taken a look at some issues already and started jumping on creating PRs inside of our Nylas Hacktoberfest repo. So one way you can go through the repo in terms of issues is the best way is look at labels and look at different programming languages that you're more comfortable in working in, or even programming languages that you're interested in learning more about. So in the case here, I'm just going to select Node. And when I select Node, so I see that there are 18 open issues in the Node environment. So I can do this in either JavaScript or TypeScript. And the one I want to look at is I'm gonna narrow this down even further. Is if I scroll down, I see that there's a few other things. There's a few other features that you could build out. So you could build out features for creating a user grant, a webhook. I think I see calendars as well, and as well calendar events. So the one I want to look at is webhook. And if we go to webhook, we see for Node and webhook, we have 4 tickets that have the Hacktoberfest tag on it. So we can actually go and pick any one of these tickets. So what we can do here is we see the instruction, go using the Nylas Node v3 SDK, create a code sample to create a webhook. So I can go ahead and say, hey, I'll just message, for example, Blog and say, hey, Blog, I'd like to take on this issue. So start a conversation with the maintainer of the repo to say, hey, I'd like to take on this issue. What do I need to do? Or even propose what you're recommending to do. So try to give a few ideas of possible solutions. And then you can work with the maintainer, have a conversation on what would be the best approach for taking on this ticket. Always make sure that you're assigned the ticket before you start it. So what I would do here is I would assign the ticket to someone like yourself, so you can go ahead and start creating the PR for this GitHub repo. Or sorry, creating the PR for this GitHub issue. So now we've kind of gone through how to look at issues. What we're going to do now is we're just going to demo a code sample of completing this issue. So this is an issue on our GitHub repo. Again, it's at Nylas Hacktoberfest 2023. So you can search for it on GitHub. And now we're just going to take a look at a demo of a code sample solving this GitHub issue or creating a PR, a code sample for this GitHub issue. So I'm going to scroll over to Visual Studio Code, and I just want to show you what this code looks like. So let's start at the top. So let me save this file, and let's start at the top. I'm going to close some of these here. Let me close these windows. So inside of this, I've created a package.json. And inside the package.json, outside of TypeScript, the main dependencies that we're going to need is the Nylas SDK and the .env package, so we can access environment variables. So the Nylas SDK here, you can always start a conversation with us on the right version to use. But in this case, we're going to use the latest version, or the version for Nylas's version 3, or API version 3. And that corresponds to the 7th version of the Nylas SDK. So we're going to use 7.00-beta.2. And this is the actual Nylas v3 API. So it wraps our API calls for us. And this is also done in TypeScript. So the code sample I have here that I'm going to show you, we'll go through it line by line. So actually, let me share my screen. It doesn't seem like it's actually transitioned over. So let's share my screen to Visual Studio Code. So let's do entire screen. There we go. Okay. So let me go through that one more time. So in package.json, our .env is the package that we need to install. And as well, we need the Nylas npm package. So this is the Nylas npm package that corresponds to our version 3 of our API. So it's going to be 7.00-beta.2. And you can always start a conversation with us if you want to know which version of the package you need to use to create the code sample. So we're doing this code sample in TypeScript. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to import the two packages, so .env and as well Nylas. And then after that, we're going to configure the Nylas instance. So we're going to say Nylas config is going to be the API key and the server URL. So anytime you take on any GitHub issue, we'll help you get these credentials. You can test out the code sample. So we're going to go through and create the code sample here, or walk through the code sample. And then after, we will test it out. So to test it out, you can always connect with us, and we'll help you get the configuration variables, or even set up an account for you on the Nylas dashboard. So here on line 10, we're actually creating a Nylas instance, a client that we can use throughout our code. And all we're going to do first is we're going to list out all the webhooks, so we can make sure that we're adding a new webhook when we actually create a webhook. So we just want to get an idea of all the webhooks that exist. And then at the very bottom, I'm just going to close this piece of code. We're just going to console log all the webhooks data. So all the information about the webhooks that are currently existing on our application. So let me jump over to the terminal, and then I can show you what this looks like. So in the terminal, I'm just going to do npm start. And I should also show you that I do have a TypeScript build running in parallel. So I'm just running npm watch to get this started. And if we go back to the start, npm start, this shows us all the different webhooks that we've created in the past. And as you can see here, I have the webhook that I just created previously, testing 1, 2, 3. So we're going to create a new webhook, and we're going to add that here, and then we're going to list out all the different webhooks so we can do a sanity check to make sure our webhook actually exists. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code and take a look at what the code looks like to do that. So I'm going to show you the request body, and this is all the configuration we need to create a webhook. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a callback URL. And we've gone through how to create webhooks in the past. So if you search YouTube for Nylas and Pipedream, we're actually using Pipedream as a tool here to create webhooks for us without actually having to deploy an entire server. So you can actually create an endpoint on Pipedream, and you can use it to manage the creation of Nylas webhooks. So if you go ahead and search for that on YouTube, you'll find that video where you walk you through how to do this step by step. And then as well, we're actually creating the specific trigger that we want to create. So the trigger that we want to create is going to be the event updated trigger. So this is actually a part of the actual Nylas SDK where we give you all the different triggers. And in our case, we're going to be doing the webhook triggers for an event being updated. And then here we're gonna show we're gonna add a description. So for ours, we'll just say live stream webhook. This is going to be the webhook that we created during the live stream. And then last but not least, we're going to have notification email address. So if anything were to go wrong with the webhook, if for any reason it's not able to deliver the actual webhook events to your backend, you'll get a notification at this email. So I think after a certain number of retries, it'll probably put that webhook event in a failure, and then you'll get an update via email. And the last thing we need to do is we actually need to call await nylas.webhooks.create. So since our version 7 of our SDK is in TypeScript, you can see all the type ahead is given to you, and as well the descriptions of what is required to create a webhook. So it's like the code is actually self-documented through TypeScript, where you can figure out how can I go about creating an actual webhook. And as well, if you have any questions along the way when you're creating the code sample, you can definitely reach out to us in the actual GitHub issue. We love to hear if you're having any problems or any questions, and we can guide you along the way to completing the actual code sample. So the last thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to print out the data for the new webhook. So on line 41, we're just going to take the new webhook and we're going to print out the data property of that webhook. So I'm going to go back to the terminal and we're going to run this code. And what we're doing, or what we're expecting to see here, is we're going to expect to see the latest new, or the newest webhook created for us. So we'll just get information back for that specific webhook. So we can see here that we got back the webhook that we created. And if we look for description, we'll see that we have live stream webhook. So I'm just going to search for this live stream webhook. So now we've actually created a webhook using the Nylas Node SDK, for version 3 of our API. And this is all we need to do to complete the PR. So we can actually go ahead and submit that code for that specific issue. And this would count as a Hacktoberfest contribution. So let me just go back to Visual Studio Code and show you one more thing. What I want to do is I just want to print out all the webhooks so we can see that the webhook we just created shows up in the list of all webhooks available to us. So now that I've gone ahead and done that, I've saved the file. I'm just going to go ahead back into the terminal. I'm going to run the code again. And here I can see that I see this live stream webhook in the list of webhooks that are sent back to me. So now I can confirm that I've actually added this webhook. I've tested out the PR. I've tested out the code sample. I can go ahead and create a PR and push this to that GitHub repo. And then someone like myself or Blag will go through and review that PR and give you any comments in terms of anything that you need to address. But if you go through and test out the PR and provide us instructions on how you tested it out, we can follow the same instructions to review that PR. And that is pretty much it for this walkthrough. So what we looked at today is how you can actually look at the GitHub issues from Nylas. You can go through and pick an issue, so you can filter based on languages and what type of feature you want to build out. And as well, we looked at how easy it is to actually create a code sample. There wasn't much code involved. So we create the issues so they're so granular that you can go ahead and build out a code sample in, I would say, almost 15 minutes. So that's kind of the length of the live stream. Maybe it may take 20 to 25 minutes just to go back and forth on GitHub, just to clarify what you need to do and ask any questions. And yeah, Hacktoberfest ends October 31st. So I'd recommend everyone that's participating in Hacktoberfest, try to tackle one PR a week. That would be the best way to kind of pace yourself for completing the 4 contributions for the month of October. And as well, we do live streams twice a week. Please go ahead and like and subscribe. We love to hear from you in terms of any feedback. We love reaching out to our community developers through hackathons that we've had in the past. And as well, just to learn what do you like about Nylas, what comments or feedback that you have, what upcoming content would you like to see from us. So we always love to get any feedback on the socials. We are everywhere. So you could find us at Nylas as well. So you can find us online, and we love to get any feedback and hear from you about things you're doing with Nylas. And as well, live streams every Wednesday and Friday. So our next live stream will be next Wednesday after the long weekend, and hopefully Blag will be back with us. He should be back. I think the next live stream will be his to lead, but let's see. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.